welcome back to another episode of the Renaissance Room podcast. Y'all, my stats finally loaded on Apple and I am so happy. Thank you guys so much for listening and tuning into the podcast. So in today's episode, I want to share with y'all this quote that just really it really brought me back to reality. And I definitely feel like for myself, I've really overthought a lot of things, especially about the initial stages of my journey, like journalism, being a writer, especially coming into today's times, like Miss Nina Simone said. I was gonna say my girl, let me put some respect on it, period. Whoa, I'm getting beside myself. She said, how can you be an artist and not reflect the times? And I feel like with the times today, it's very hard to kind of stray away from certain cultural conversations and remain a little unbiased. And that's not what I'm trying to do anyway, but it's just one of those things to where it's like, there's a lot to unpack there, right? And it's like, we know that the world has become such a sensitive place. So it's like, one thing I can honestly say though, is that I'm really proud of my work because I feel as though I tell the truth in love and I tell it in a way that's simplistic and I would say that it's well received. And with all that being said, for me, seeing this quote and just thinking back on the times in my life when I've had someone really speak the truth to me without being shady, those were the friendships that I really valued the most. You know what I mean? I remember back in the day, your friends were real with you, you know what I mean? And it was you needed people to just kind of snap you out of it. Not people who finger blame, point the finger and you know what I mean? Finger blame, what is that? Okay. Not people who point the finger or try to always coddle you out of your emotions, but people who really tell you, get real, be serious. You know what I mean? Are you for real? And so anyway, I wanted to share this quote that really just kind of grounded me. And it was, release what released you. And I'm gonna say that again because I know you felt that, because I just felt that in my spirit. It's like an affirmation. I feel like as we move into the month of April, which I'm gonna go ahead and release this episode in April. So now that we're in the month of April, right? Release what has released you. Whoa, you know what I mean? How many of us women especially hold on to the past, especially right now, right? How many people are struggling to go over their ex? How many people are struggling to move on from someone who moved on from them because of social media, right? You're constantly seeing their posts. You may move in the same circles as them. You're hearing about them. How many people are stuck in this space where they're dealing with the childhood trauma and so forth? One thing about me, I did take my time to grieve. I did take my time to really sit in a space and be this is really painful. This is a very unfortunate thing that happened to me. Then I was a victim, right? I was a child. I was innocent. I really had no say. But I looked up at my life and I saw how my actions and the traumas and things like that really hindered me. And I looked up at my age and I was okay, we're going to go ahead and release this, right? Because one thing about it is you'll just kind of grow up and that's the thing too. When you get to the other side of the healing journey, which a lot of people don't really talk about because I think it's more solution based, which is not necessarily marketable, right? It's cool to constantly create content around hot topics and things that are this is how you heal this, right? And there are a lot of people who are still in that space. Like I said, I do feel like there are a lot of people who did not do the work. But once you get to the other side of it, it really is something that's rewarding. It's you kind of just make peace with it. You kind of have a sense of solace. You package it up and then you just kind of let it go. You realize that not everyone is perfect. And you just kind of realize that not everyone is good or bad. And then I think when it comes to your parents, for the most part, I know there's some one-off situations, but for the most part, you can't possibly sit and feel as though your parents have it out for you. You know what I mean? I feel like when we get to that space, that's kind of when we start to become a little bit more narcissistic and you know what I mean, within ourselves, because it's and that's why I said, please hear me clearly. That's a one-off, you know what I mean? I'm not talking about those who have those very exceptional situations where their parents was just wilding. And I've seen it for myself, but even still in that, right? You can still point to the love, right? I've seen parents lash out on their kids or whatever, because whatever they got going on within them lives, but it's they're still paying the bills. They're still, you know what I mean? They're not necessarily just 86 in the entire child. But let me not speak too much to that, because again, that's like one of those one-off situations where like that's just, you know, a one-off situation. But for the most of us, we're upset about things that they said, things that they've done. And I don't know. I think you just kind of get to the other side of that, where you just realize how much power do you want to give someone over your life? Because me personally, I love my parents. I really do. Like, I'm down for the ride. You know what I mean? I'm totally thankful for the delivery, right? Like, I'm here and I'm great. I'm doing great. But like, they're just people at the end of the day, you know, like they're just two human beings. Like, you're not getting that much. You're not getting my whole life. Like, I'm sorry. You're not getting my whole adult life. Are you crazy? Like, who are you? You know what I mean? Like, and like I said, like, that's not, and, you know, I'm joking, but like, I'm dead serious at the same time. Like, girl, you have to chalk it up. Like, you're not going to get the other half. Like, I'm sorry. You're not getting all that. Okay. And so, you know, I just was that quote, seeing that just really, really freed me. And that's why I love words, especially positive words, because it really does have a way of like uplifting your spirit and really speaking life over your situation and yourself. But yes, as we're hearing April release what has released you, period. Like, I think sometimes, especially in this culture where there's a lot of content creators who kind of create a lot of content centering around blame, especially as it pertains to relationships on either side of the spectrum. But since I think my audience is mostly women, we're going to just talk to women. And I'm a woman, so we're going to speak from a woman's perspective. A lot of people create content really for kind of like the monetization in the audience of women. I think that women are more prone to gravitate towards relationship content. One being that women are taught to value their relationships, right? Like, we're taught to value relationships. We're more nurturing in that sense. Men are taught to value things and accomplishments and things like that. Like, they don't really see relationships in the same way. That's why the podcast episode didn't even post. But I made a reference point where I just said that I believe the solution to the gender wars would be for men and women to enter into healthy spaces, right? With healthy content creators, right? People who, people who are talking about marriage and things like that, but they're married, and it's healthy from what you can discern, right? Like, what you can discern. I'm not, because we don't know, but it's healthy from what you can discern. And can I also say this too? Because I feel like, as I even just said that, I want you guys to kind of you're going to have to get to a certain place where you kind of believe that it's possible, and you believe that like not everyone is like miserable. Because I think some people really kind of adjust to this mindset where y'all start to think that, oh no, everyone has relationships issues, everyone has a miserable marriage. And I can honestly say that is not the truth. Like, there are some people who are genuinely happily married with their partners. There are some people who are in a happy relationship with the person they chose to be with. There are people in happy marriages, like, you know what I mean? So we definitely can't fall victim to like the mass media prey of like the, YouTube couples who like come and go and it's just like crazy. But like, realize that it actually does exist and it's a real thing. So now we got that out the way. I think that the solution would be for men and women to enter into healthy spaces of the opposite sex, right? So like, men need to find women content creators who talk about the issues that women go through and the things that they experience in a healthy way, so that men can have a better understanding of women, right? Like, and I think that women need to find male content creators who talk about relationships and the struggles that men face every day in a healthy way, right? And I think that will really bridge the gap, because what we have here is a lack of understanding. So my point was, the thing about women really listening to a lot of these relationship coaches who talk to women and they say things like, oh, well, you guys were just acting crazy, or like, whatever the case may be. I think that to an extent, the world and a lot of the content that's out here today has a very interesting way of making women feel as though they are the ones for the relationships failing. And I think because we are in a climate where a lot of people are struggling with loneliness, right? Like, it's just one of those things to where I just kind of feel like it's important for women to just kind of realize that like not everything is your fault. And, you take 50%, but that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we be out here taking like 90, doing 90-10. And it's like, no, like, you take 50%, but like at the end of the day, I think we have to, again, get to that space where it's like, release what released you, and just kind of realize that like everything is a lesson. I think that the unfortunate thing about social media and just like the current state of loneliness in a lot of people is that because of that, we really normalized, like, I feel like there was a phase, and I don't think it's a phase anymore, but before we got to the phase where it was like, yeah, we're gonna solo out, and everyone was like chucking the deuce. I feel like before we got to this space, it was actually to where it was like people weren't breaking up because it was like stay together culture. Like, where are the stay together advocates when you need them? You see, and this is why I say, like, you gotta just be so mindful with culture, because it's like the trends are always changing. Like, something becomes a hot topic and a fad, and then people just like roll with it. Like, I remember somebody summon the stay together advocates. I'm talking about the ones who was really out here trying to make it work. Where are y'all in today's climate? Where did you go? Like, the stay together advocates became the ones who were like, yeah, we're gonna just do life solo, and I'm gonna just go live in a bungalow. Like, people are hilarious. But yeah, so, it's just one of those things where I just kind of feel like, I'm wrapping up because I'm saying it's one of those things that I feel like this is being repetitious in a sense. I'm tired of saying it, and I think that this is pretty much the end of the podcast episode. So just to go ahead and affirm, release what has released you. I really do think there's something said about endings. I think there's something said about grief and like grieving the loss of someone, and the loss of an idea, grieving the hope, right? God tells us that hope deferred makes the heart sick. So it's just one of those things. But he also says that a desire fulfilled is like a tree of life. So that's wisdom for you. And, release what has released you. And there's this meme that I love. I remember Adrienne Balone was talking about it, and someone had kind of like inserted the meme in the clip. It was on her show, The Real. Well, their show, The Real. There's a few other women who are on there as well. But she basically just was talking about how, there are times in our lives where it's like, it was this little, well, let me just I'm going to tell you what the meme is first, because that's where I was meaning to go anyway. But there was this little girl, she was holding a teddy bear, and she was like, God, I don't want to, and the guy was like, give me the teddy bear. And she was like, no, like, I just love this teddy bear. Like, he just like my favorite little squishy. Like, I just don't want to get rid of my teddy bear. And God was like, trust me, like, just give me the teddy bear. And then but behind God's back was this huge teddy bear, right? And so I just hope that touches somebody's heart today. Because honestly, it's just one of those things where it's like, I can honestly say for myself, looking at my life, it's just kind of crazy. Like, I feel like everything that I've went through, God has really come through, and like, he's so good. Like, I feel like my increase was amazing. And then it's like, he really kind of came through with a double portion, low key. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm waiting to see how this year is going to turn out. I'm just like so open to my blessings, but I know for a fact, y'all, like, if you really want to get to the other side of what God has for you, you're going to have to let go. Like, you have to give God this little bear that you're holding on to, because you got to trust that God has better for you. And you're going to be so surprised. Like, you're going to be so surprised. And I'm telling you, if you can just maintain the spirit of gratitude, and if you can just sustain like a positive attitude in your waiting seasons, oh my gosh, like, when it come through, you're going to be so happy. Like, I know for me, like with my car, I was busting it. I didn't have a car for like 3 years, and God blessed me with a car, and it was like, girl, the car is fabulous. Like, and it's like, I'm just so grateful, and I'm so grounded, and I'm so humble with it, because it's like, I was on the bus for like 3 years. And like, I don't really live in a big metropolis type of city, like, so it was a really humbling thing. And like, I'm just so grateful, and I'm so blessed, and just trust that God got you. So that's the April affirmation, honey. That's it right there. Like, trust, and release what has released you. Like, period. There's no need. And, I keep going back and forth, but I want to end with this too, because I think sometimes we get so caught up in living in the moment that we can't see the future, right? And when you immerse yourself in culture and like content, all these crazy different things, you kind of lose sight of that. And I can honestly say for myself, the one thing that really keeps me grounded is God. Like, really putting my focus back on God. Like, there's no way there can't be a brighter future for me when that's what he promised. You know what I mean? So like, don't be so caught up in culture and like everything that's going on out here. Everyone's like crazy right now. You know what I mean? Like, we still don't know the effects of social media to the extent of like a personal like psychology, within the minds of so many, but we know it's impacting people in a negative way. So like, try to find things that uplift you and get back to yourself, and like give yourself time to get back to yourself, or even give yourself time to discover yourself. But I can honestly say you're going to find yourself if you really take the time to forgive people and release so much. And it's going to take time. I can't give you a timeline for your life. I don't know, but God knows. And just keep God close and keep God first, and stay focused on God and his plans for your life. And he's going to direct your steps, and you're going to be so much more happier. Like, I feel like my life is so peaceful, and like things are just so much better this time around. Like, I feel like everything came full circle, but it's like, it's a very beautiful thing. Like, it's kind of like a butterfly, you know, like I can cry. God is so good. So it's going to get better. Love ya. Peace.